Hello everyone, today I want to talk to you guys about 5 technical reasons why it is I believe that the cryptocurrency market hasn't topped and that actually higher prices for the market as a whole are still ahead of us. Now, even though we have done lots of technical work and we have technical patterns predicting higher prices for the total cryptocurrency market cap, the total 2, which is everything including or excluding Bitcoin, the total 3, which is everything excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, others, ETPs, etc., that all point in this space as a whole going higher. Today, really what I want to do is just look specifically at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is that tide that rises and sinks all ships. This is still very much the case. Whether we move away from that into the future is still to be seen. There's certainly an argument for it, but we haven't seen it yet. So if we can get the direction of Bitcoin right, ultimately that's going to give us a good probability that the space is going to move with it. And it's a general barometer for the direction of the space as a whole is going in. So what we're going to be doing is looking at Bitcoin specifically in this video. I always see, and we've been fighting them really since we got back into the markets, as I'm sure many of you know, back in January 2023. So down here was when we decided, not just myself, but I had a group of patrons at the time that I still have. If you want to join that, check the link out in the description. We pivoted and we got back into the markets literally down here. That's all public knowledge. And since then, at every single pullback and every single point, we've been fighting people in regards to the direction of the market and people calling for black swans, demand destructive events, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we said, actually, the probabilities are more stacked in continuation for this market to the upside than they are against it, or any kind of an event taking place, which I think you'll always have clues for in a market, more times than not. But we've shown this chart a lot. Now, this is our kind of blueprint for Bitcoin, and we've got a concession of technical patterns going on here, and we're going to identify them individually, because when you put them all together, what you get is a confluence of indicators through technical analysis that all point to higher prices for Bitcoin. And that ultimately leads me to believe for the space as a whole, based on what we just started to talk about. So just quickly, and we'll go into all of these and show you them. We've obviously got this big macro pattern, which is a cup and handle. We're going to show you some examples of other cup and handles called by us here on the channel that all led to higher prices, just like we're expecting for Bitcoin. We've obviously got this inverse head and shoulders. So this plays out around about 150K, just like this smaller head and shoulders. Markets will often nestle to both the up and the downside using the head and shoulder pattern, and pivot around key levels of significance. We've also got a bull flag that, depending on where you take the flag from, whether you take it from here or here, will either take you to 130 or near 200K. And then, of course, we've got the fact that we are in an uptrend, and we will be doing some work on Bitcoin dominance as that kind of 5th technical indicator in regards to the direction the space is heading in more broadly. So that is what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to be looking at the sort of 5 technical patterns or indicators that we have present that ultimately lead us to believe that higher prices are coming for crypto, generally through the lens of Bitcoin, which is the tide that rises and sinks all ships. So, first of all, let us just recap on the Brave New Liquid Coin Index. This is the longest chart that we have for Bitcoin. And one thing that I've found people saying is actually that we're no longer following the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory. And actually, the opposite is true. The only anomaly, which I would argue is more bullish than bearish, I don't know how people can flip it on their head and make it a bearish argument. The anomaly really is the fact that Bitcoin went and put in a high pre-halving. That's never happened before. That has everything to do with the institutional involvement that we've now got. And this is a technical video, but fundamentally, there's 1,000,001 reasons to be bullish on Bitcoin in this industry that we're going to leave to the side. We're going to focus purely on technically how we derive at our opinion that this bull market is not over and there's more to come. We could add fundamentally macroeconomic cycles and everything, which I tend to do with my Patreons on a Sunday, into the equation. But just looking at the Brave New Liquid Coin Index, you can see just how well these cycles are being followed, or this cycle is being followed, even in regards to the pullback that we had post-halving. We will be revisiting the BLX when we look at Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance post-halving typically takes around about 225 or 4 days to drain, and I think we're there again. If Bitcoin dominance is going down, that doesn't mean Bitcoin's going down. It just means altcoins are outperforming, which has to be an environment where Bitcoin's doing well. talk about it towards the end of the video. So just to highlight this, we are still following the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory. This would take us into the back of next year. There's also liquidity cycles and things that align with that, just as a little sort of interesting introduction. The first thing that I want to cover, which is the most obvious, is the fact that Bitcoin is very, very clearly in an uptrend. So what we can see here is a succession of higher highs and higher lows. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. And there's that saying out there when it comes to the markets that the trend is your friend. And the trend is your friend because whilst the trend is in place and there's been no invalidations of it, you expect that continuation. It doesn't matter how long the trend has been going on for. If we, let's do this here, look at the likes of, and I'll go over to my meetings, NVIDIA. It's a great example of trend continuation. So this is NVIDIA. At no point here, and remember this inverse head and shoulders because we're about to put one on for Bitcoin. At no point here was your trend invalidated. And the trend is your friend. We've got that short-term target that's going to take us to 184 that we're getting very close to. The trend is your friend. The saying out there is until the end, but we're not going to go that far. So Bitcoin is very clearly in an uptrend, and you don't bet against the trend. Typically, once you get a trend reversal, so this lower low was taken out, or this lower high was taken out by a higher low, that was at the point the trend reversed. And so far, you've not got that for Bitcoin. So that is point number one. Forget the Bitcoin 4-year cycle that we just looked at. That's kind of, I guess, more fundamental analysis. This is technical, or I suppose it's technical because we're looking at the charts, but it's more talking about fundamentally how the cycles move. The first technical indicator that we have that there's going to be continuation for Bitcoin is the fact that you are in an uptrend and the trend is your friend and you don't bet against that. On balance of probabilities, you expect continuation. That is one good technical reason to expect Bitcoin's price to go higher and thus the cryptocurrency space more broadly. The second reason that we have, of course, is this bull flag that you've been setting up since March. So Bitcoin's been pulling back since March. It's been a frustrating year, although it's one that we've came victorious on the back end of, obviously post the Trump victory. But this is very clearly, in my opinion, what is a trend continuation pattern. Remember, you're in an uptrend in the form of a bull flag. And this bull flag, and this will differ from chart to chart, if you want to take the flag from here, is going to take you to 128k on this chart, which is the Bitfinex chart. It'll be slightly different on some of the others. And if you want to draw the flag from down here, which many people would do, you're looking at a run to 200k. So this is our second technical indicator or technical confluence that we have in regards to the continuation in this bull market through the lens of Bitcoin. We've got the fact that you're in a very clear, predominant uptrend, and we've got the fact that actually we have a technical pattern in the form of a bull flag that sees, depending on where you want to draw the flagpoles from, a run to 130k and then a run to 200k, depending on which flagpole you want to look at. So this is pointing, by all accounts, at continuation in this bull market and the fact that Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets haven't topped yet. The next pattern that we have for you is this inverse head and shoulder. So going back to and we like to show this every day in our daily market update, and this is a great exercise because some people might be unfamiliar how we're so confident on Bitcoin and the direction its price is heading, but it's because we've got this confluence of technical patterns. You can see this inverse head and shoulders here that we're highlighting that we're about to jump into. Obviously, you had a small one here. It's a very reliable pattern, in my opinion, and you can see that there is obviously an inverse head and shoulders here. This is a 3 daily time frame. For Bitcoin, this, of course, would be your left armpit, right armpit. Not only did you break this, you actually come back and retest it, showing this is a key level of significance, likely that neckline for this inverse head and shoulders, that is ultimately going to see you run towards that sort of 150k mark, around about 149, 150, 151, depending on what chart you're using. And that is another technical pattern that is pointing upside out for Bitcoin and thus the cryptocurrency space. So it's not just the bull flags that we have or the fact that we're in an uptrend. It's also the fact that we have an inverse head and shoulders pointing you to the upside. So that also leads me to believe that this market isn't done yet. Of course, going back to my chart that I show every day, what we're highlighting here is a cup and handle. So this is technical reason number 4. Now, this is a very common way that you'll take out a high is by running it, pulling back into it, and then seeing continuation. In doing so, setting up a cup and handle. VanEck Semiconductors ETF was a great one for us. You run into the high, you pull back, and then you see continuation. This did it in a very sort of flag-like manner as well. And ultimately, this isn't that far off making its target. I think in the next move you're going to get for the VanEck Semiconductors, you're going to see $311, which is this cup and handle pattern, actually get met. Of course, the DAX is another great example. Again, how you take a high, you'll put a toe above it, you'll pull back into it, and then see continuation out of it. This won't be long until it makes its target. And of course, Microsoft has been a pretty good stock. Also with an inverse head and shoulders here. The DAX had one as well. And us predicting this for the DAX is like us predicting what we're also predicting for Bitcoin as well today. So the cup and handle pattern, very clearly evident for Bitcoin, taking it to like 300-ish K. We've got a succession of technical indicators now in the form of the fact that you're in an uptrend, the bull flag that is present on Bitcoin, the inverse head and shoulders, and of course the cup and handle that Bitcoin is presenting. That's 4 things, all screaming continuation and further upside for Bitcoin. And again, it's the tide that rises and sinks all ships. One thing now that isn't the Bitcoin chart, but it is very related, is of course Bitcoin dominance. Now, Bitcoin dominance, it was actually a community member that highlighted this to me, did have a small inverse head and shoulders here that took it to 61.5% dominance. And you can see this is perfectly where you actually rolled after this kind of cycle target was met. And it's often a very good time for a trend to change once some sort of a big target has been met. And I think that potentially could be the case with Bitcoin dominance. And by all accounts, I certainly think you've broken any kind of trend line that you could have possibly had with Bitcoin dominance, and that this is now about to roll. And that doesn't mean that Bitcoin's going down. That actually means the opposite, that Bitcoin's going up, but it's permissioning the altcoins to do even more. So it's very bullish for the space as a whole. Certainly, if you're looking at Bitcoin dominance rolling, you're looking at actually Bitcoin continuing to go up, because if Bitcoin dominance wasn't rolling and shooting up, the opposite would be true. Likely Bitcoin would be going down and altcoins to more of a degree. That's typically how this space works. So Bitcoin dominance, we can derive or arrive at a bullish narrative for Bitcoin generally. So all put together, these are our sort of 5 technical reasons why we're bullish on Bitcoin, and through the lens of Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency space more broadly. We've got the fact that you are in a very pronounced and clear uptrend that hasn't been invalidated yet for Bitcoin. We've got the bull flag structures. We've got the inverse head and shoulders. We've got the cup and handle. And of course, we've got Bitcoin dominance and the fact that we believe this is now rolling. And that gives further evidence, in my opinion, to the continuation for Bitcoin from a price point of view, but the space more broadly. Hope you found this interesting, guys. Hopefully we've put forward our technical argument. We could talk all day long about fundamentally why we're bullish on Bitcoin and this industry as a whole. But certainly what we've tried to do there is, as a technical analyst, put forward our technical argument to why it is we're bullish on Bitcoin. And ultimately, Bitcoin is that tide that rises and sinks all ships. And we think that means you're going to see further continuation for this industry as a whole. And of course, if we dove into the total market caps, things like this, we'd see similar continuation patterns setting up. That's it from me, ladies and gentlemen. This bull market is far from done, in my opinion. I'm going to love and leave you on that note. Thanks for watching. See you all in the next one.